The two final gang members that weren't wounded started to sprint away and made it about 3 strides before straight slugs hit them each in the back with a trigger pull each. Cole ran up to secure the intersection as 2 more guards with sharpened circuit boards attacked their necks to get at their carotid arteries and throats to silence them. The entire violent act was over in under 30 seconds. Work returned, and Cole didn't hear any renewed interest in their location for the moment. The Amazon lead and the security lead ran over to him for instructions as he whispered to them and motioned as everyone's routine continued. The quarantine, presumably diseased bags of clothes, got poured on the bodies as if they were only mounds of clothes. Alright, we'll try that again. Diseased bags of clothes from kids cycling through quarantine over the last months got poured on the fresh diseased corpses as if they themselves were only mounds of clothes. 2 kids came back from the home improvement store with potassium permanganate that Cole guessed the science kids had asked for. Some time had passed, and Cole figured they should be about done with the biodiesel by now. Glass jars came out as Cole was checking the truck to find the keys. They were already in the ignition. The kids poured a little bit into the fuel tank and stopped. Cole tried to start it a few times, and it started up. It ran for about a minute. The fuel tank gauge passed empty, but a tiny amount left, obviously. Some kids returned with a little diesel they had siphoned from another semi, just in case. It wouldn't have been enough to get them more than a mile or two, but Cole gave them credit for the heart, bravery, and ingenuity they were showing. The young teens were instructed to mix the diesel in with the biofuel and pour the rest in the truck. The garbage truck sputtered and choked, but kept running. The seals would wear out, but hopefully they could at least get far enough away from these cartel psychos. The neutral part of the state was further than 40 miles north, though. With the fuels combined, they'd have enough to drive around 20 miles. That didn't sound like much, but it was more than they would ever get on foot, and hopefully enough to find some fuel stations. It was an old engine, but if it had been updated with polymer parts, they could drive much further without having to service the engine. The kids finished loading up their vehicle with their hardware and started to load themselves into the vehicle. Cole estimated even shoulder to shoulder it would be a tight fit. There was room up front for several, but he doubted any of them even knew how to drive, let alone a stick, let alone a giant truck. As they piled in, he asked anyway, "Anyone know how to drive one of these in case I need to stay in the back?" One kid stood forward. "My dad drove them, and he taught me. Since there are basically no other jobs, I even know how to operate the mechanics." Cole didn't know how to do that, so this kid was already one up on him. A young lady ran over to him and hung off his arm, obviously proud of her little boyfriend for being a cut above. She had a look on her face like she'd made a good choice and that her parents would be proud of her pick if she ever saw them again. Cole nodded. "You're driving then. Get in and get ready." They both hopped in with a big smile. The rest of the cab filled up with kid guards with the nail guns in the shotgun position and more cramped back seat. And more kids in the cramped back seat it had. The garbage truck sputtered and spat some more. And the kid gave the pedal a little push and the engine roared. Cole was trying to do the mental math of how many kids they were supposed to have and couldn't keep track, but remembered the 2 chemists. Cole looked around for them and saw a stack of tires pushed to one side of the inside of the garbage truck. Obviously they were too big and heavy for the kids, and that's as far as they got. Cole heard several engines in the distance and knew they had to go, but he wasn't leaving the 2 brave chemists. Pushing out the horrors the kids would endure to the cartels. It was also possible that they were some of the last chemists in the entire area that weren't ultra-violent towards this new family that was struggling to survive. Cole looked around and was about to run back inside when they came out holding some other sort of chemical that wasn't part of his instructions. They yelled to the garbage truck, "Did you guys get the potassium permanganate?" Someone yelled, "Yeah, it's in the back." Another tremor started from the ground, strong enough to throw each of the kids off their feet. It looked strange from Cole's perspective because they barely felt the movement in the truck. Both kids looked stunned and worried, as if the liquid they were carrying in bottles would somehow blow up. Cole hopped off to help them to their feet as the ground rumbled, and all but tossed the kids in the back. Cole grabbed the steel grab bar moments later and smacked the side of the truck twice hard. With that, the garbage truck pulled away. Several vehicles were within sight as a new message finally found its way to Cole. I couldn't keep them distracted any longer, and they're on their way to you. I had to get out. They almost got me. She wasn't cut off by anything happening. Her thoughts seemed to trail off all by themselves. The message started repeating, and Cole absentmindedly said okay, and the transmission stopped within a few words. Then he hoped she got out okay. With the brave sacrifice she made, and her mom would have been... was a brave sacrifice she made, and her mom would have been proud. The garbage truck sputtered and spat away, slowly climbing to 30 miles an hour when the first vehicles came into sight. Cole had remembered to take a box of shotgun shells out of his pack and put them in his pocket, and had topped his shotgun off, including rounds in both chambers. He left the pack on the ground and was peering out of the hatch at the approaching vehicles. Cole didn't want them anywhere near the tires. He told all the kids to plug their ears and started blasting away with slugs. He hit the driver of one car and the engine of the other. The two vehicles wrecked, only for two more to take their place. Cole couldn't let these vehicles follow them, or they would either get blocked in or run out of fuel. Cole also imagined somehow them getting in front of the vehicle and setting up a trap on the ground. These groups were notorious for carrying improvised foam tubing and nail spike strips with them. One of the kids poked his head out of the hatch, and out of the kid's pack dropped some tennis balls with nails poking out of them. Cole facepalmed and followed up with, "Were those in your pack this whole time?" The kid realized how horrible of an idea that was, and then shrugged and flipped his bag upside down and dumped the rest into the street as they sped off. And then he looked at Cole all sassy like, "Happy?" Cole approved and laughed a hearty chuckle. The kid didn't feel bad anymore and went back to his spot. He'd done his part. Some of the tennis balls finding shadows where the cars swerved in to miss the ones it could see. With that, two more vehicles wiped out on the tennis balls as the sun was full on the horizon now. Another kid came out with cut-up pieces of rubber mouse pads with nails in them and started carefully frisbeeing them onto the pavement. They were in his backpack before also. Cole had it with these kids in keeping nailed objects in their packs. The vehicle started swerving to try to avoid, but only managed to drive into other ones. Cole sarcastically but semi-seriously asked, "Anyone else with nailed objects in their packs? They want to get out. Now's the chance." He tried to say it lighthearted, but also to let them know he didn't approve. They were improvising, but still needed to learn to think things through. They all collectively looked at each other and emptied their packs of all formed of nailed objects into the road as they puttered off. It took a few minutes for their vehicles to find a different route, so before long there were more vehicles tailing the garbage truck. Cole hoped the nails took enough vehicles offline to where even with calm coordination they couldn't get in front of them with any serious numbers. As if in response to the thought, a vehicle came up alongside them, and one of the kids unleashed full auto nails into the tires, being as the windows were smartly rolled up. Several found their mark, and the car crashed as gunshots from the vehicle all missed their mark. It was a light round the gang member had in his pistol, so the bullets bounced off the steel case they were in. Thankfully, Cole put a round in the driver and a round in the engine before they could aim any better. Cole imagined the nails could probably go through back windows, but that wasn't going to be helping them very much unless there was a vehicle in front. In a moment, though, there was. Both kids reached out the windows and poured nails into the back of a large SUV filled with cartel members. Screams of agony filled the truck as they pleaded with the driver to move. The kid driving the garbage truck helped them out by speeding up and smashing them out of the way. The SUV driver had instinctively slowed down to find out what was going on, and it was his downfall. They hit a bollard, and the driver was killed instantly due to not wearing his seatbelt.